Hi friends, Katie Z here, and this video is the first in a two-part that answers a question I've been asked no less than 5 times over the last 3 days. So I figure if 5 other people want an answer to this question, perhaps you might as well. And the question has to do with what kind of deep breathing can I do to help with anxiety, stress, etc. And I should say there are many different kinds of deep breathing that you and I can do to manage anxiety, stress, and etc. There's a system I've been studying since the mid-1990s, maybe a little later, I don't know, some time ago, that is rooted in a set of practices from China. And these practices predate acupuncture. So if you think of just the big bucket of traditional Chinese medicine, these practices would be the more esoteric of those practices. What I like about these breathing techniques in particular for me, and what I have found to be true for students and clients over the years, is there's a very clear intent as to where the breath occurs, where the mind is focusing, and what the breath's job is. And in this case, it's about transforming negative and challenging emotions into positive and more easy feelings. There are 5 sounds that are mapped specifically to a positive and negative emotion. I want to be clear here, negative in this context is not the same as bad. So in the context of Tao, in the context of TCM as I know it, a negative emotion like anger, for example, is seen as it's a sign, right? It's a telling in the body-mind that something is out of balance. Does that make sense? So in Buddhism, the word is equanimity. And if you think about like your baseline, having a good day, chugging along, right? And then, oh my gosh, somebody cut me off in traffic. Oh, my girlfriend broke up with me. Yay, I got a new job. Oh, I can't find my shoe. You know, those ups and downs that occur. Equanimity is that it's the Goldilocks zone for your feelings. So the brief summary of these breaths is that you smile, attention goes inward, and the sounds correspond with your organs. The first sound one does is for the lungs, and in Chinese medicine, in this system, the pairing of emotions for the lungs are grief and courage. And the sound for the lungs is like when an old radiator is hissing. You don't even need to be sad about anything in particular. So that's the first one for the lungs. Second, go down to the kidneys, your low back. This is the seat of anxiety. Anxiety as and fear as in like shock, so if you are driving down the road and you narrowly avoid an accident, that jolt that you get of adrenaline, that's the emotional landscape of the kidneys. And the balancing emotion to shock, of course, is gentleness, calm, cool, and alert. And the sound for the kidneys is like chugga chugga choo choo. After the kidneys, one goes up the body to the right side of the torso here for the liver. This is the seat of anger, envy, and jealousy. And the balancing emotion is if you think about kindness and generosity, right? So that sense of there's enough to go around, and that sense of I deserve, right? And that other person deserves as well. So the sound for the liver is shh, as though you're telling somebody to be quiet. And in the mind's eye, you just take in this sense of generosity and forgiveness. And anger, envy, jealousy, however that may show up for you. Next, you'll go up into the torso to the heart. And by heart, I mean the actual beating muscle inside your chest. You can find it because it's where we pledge allegiance in the US. It's on the left-hand side. This is the seat of love. The negative emotion associated with this is hate. And wouldn't you know, the color here is red. The sound is almost as though you're, like if you were to fog up a mirror. Well, fifth breath, specifically for emotions, is tied to the spleen and the stomach, and this is the seat of worry. So if you remember back when we were at the kidneys talking about shock, that sudden shock, worry here is, you can think about it as rumination. And the positive emotion here is trust. A theistic perspective might call it faith. Trusting that it's all going to be okay in the end. And the sound, so my teacher taught it to me one way, and then another person with whom I studied taught it a different way. So I'll share both of them. The first way is the way that you might think of an owl going whoo. So really open. Right, breathing in trust, whatever that means or doesn't. You just have the thought in your mind, letting go of worry. The other way I learned this is as that first sound in the Hebrew word chutzpah, that kind of occurs in the back of the throat, gently, not trying to spit on anybody or anything. And so again, it's just breathing in trust, faith, if that's how you understand it and experience it, and then letting go of mistrust and worry. And the last breath, the last of these 6 sounds, doesn't correspond to anything. It does, organ-wise, it does hold within it this intention of finding that Goldilocks band, right? So you can lower your hot head and warm up your cold feet. And it's a simple he. The sound is typically done lying down, and the rest of these are done seated. You're welcome to do them all lying down or all seated. The way I was taught, the more straight the spine, the more kind of plugged into the earth, the body, the easier the flow of energy in the body.